everyone's probably wondering, well, not everyone, the one or two people out there that are like, what should we be including in our reports? Hi everybody, we're here for an episode, a talk all about analytics, one of the most, boring topics of all time for marketing people. But and that's because we have today Ariel is here. She's our data analyst at Twin Creek Media, and very knowledgeable in the field, so that's why she's co-host today. But it's really neat. So most creative people think that analytics and reporting are kind of the most watching paint dry. So let's just start with what is this? Why is it so significant to be measuring marketing results, measuring your baseline performance, which is the topic of today's show? Why is it so important?
Yeah, I think the reason it's significant is we really want to see, first of all, where are you? Mm-hmm. That's why we do the baseline reports and look at the metrics there and just really to understand like where are you positioned currently in your business. Yeah. And then we look broad picture and say, where do you want to be? Yeah. And unless you're measuring results at the beginning, you're not going to know if you're succeeding once you start your campaign.
Yeah, you might launch something and then go, wow, this thing's going really well, or it's not going really well. Yeah. Well, how do you know unless you have a baseline? Yeah, right? Exactly. Where did you start from? So it's simple as that, really. And you can't really improve things if you haven't been measuring things along the way. Yeah. And to get the most bang for buck, out of your marketing dollars, you really want to be trying to. You have your goals. You work backwards from there, and you try to measure and along the way, and then make adjustments so you can be better and better, right? And then you're getting a higher ROI, return on investment. So determining the goals is a big deal. You have to know where you're going, right? So the baseline performance is all about where you are right now. But like Ariel said, you need to know where you're going and then compare it back to where you were to know how far you improved.
I see it like a pulse check, It's like, when you're working out and you're like, okay, where we at? You gotta take the pulse on things and see what you're doing.
It's also surprising, people, they're often surprised when we do this for the first time.
That's right.
And their company has never really taken a pulse check or a health check on the marketing advertising statistics point of view. Is your website healthy? What's it doing for you? Is it working? Is it not working? And how do you know? And what these things are to measure. Our company, our agency, working with lots and lots of different companies across Canada, we've been through 8 zillion different software tools trying to find, the holy grail of what's going to measure things the best and what's not going to take, 9 years of doing manual spreadsheets. So just kind of talk a little bit about that in 2020. 2023, going into 2024, what sort of tools are we using? Yeah,
definitely. Anyone who has a website probably knows that or has the link up to Google Analytics knows that Universal Analytics is gone. It's no more. Yeah. It stopped gathering data as of last year. And so we moved into GA4, which, we were a little hesitant. It's a totally different software.
Google Analytics 4.
Sorry, Google Analytics 4. And, what we realized very quickly is that it's actually sampling on GA4, which we were a little bit apprehensive of because it's not true results.
It's not exact data.
No, it's not. It's a guesstimate, which they're pretty accurate on most of the time, but it's also a huge spam bot, magnet as well. So we've actually moved into Matomo, which is a third-party data software that we use, and I love it. It's super user-friendly. Yeah. The interface is similar to Universal Analytics, so it's not an entirely new interface to learn either. Yeah. And the reporting is very thorough, very accurate. Yeah. So we're excited about that. That's in
a nutshell, this tool, for the non-techies, for people that aren't necessarily doing the data gathering, it just makes your data more accurate. Yeah. So we're all about accuracy. We're trying to get there. And then there's a whole bunch of other tools as well that we use in our research stage. And this is research for marketing analytics and website performance specifically when it comes to advertising.
For sure, with Facebook being a big ad channel for us, Facebook, Instagram, or Meta. Yeah. We obviously go into Meta Ads Manager and the business account side of things and get a lot of good metrics from there.
So AKA like the source. So social media platforms, the source has some really good data that you can't always pull out. Most of it you can, right? With kind of like different hooks and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of the data is stuck in there, and you really have to go to the source to find that. So Meta Business Platform. And then some of the other tools we've used currently and some that we've used in the past are more for search engine optimization.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, Ubersuggest, which is Neil Patel's tool. He has a neat data suite there. And even SpyFu, which is used for competitive analysis of ads and who's running what. You know, you can kind of do a little bit of reconnaissance work on your competitors and how they're advertising and what they say. Yeah. So those are good raw data research tools. Yeah. We have a bunch of reporting tools that are our favorites as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that brings
this
us
is where you live like day in, day out in these things.
Yeah,
right?
That's my corner office is in agency analytics is how I see it. But agency analytics has been awesome. They have beautiful visualizations of the raw data that I'm pulling direct from source, which is really neat to compile into a more user-friendly and readable report monthly for our clients or annual. So that's been really useful. And for the most part, it connects to most of the software or third-party websites that we use.
Yeah, there's a ton of integrations, right?
Yeah, which is great, which is really good. Obviously, Google Data Studio, Looker Studio to bring in live embeds. That's been awesome. Even just to pull in some stuff from Ahrefs and any of those other sites.
And it's good when you need a custom graph or chart or a pie chart or some sort of this versus that's not a normal comparison, but you want to make your own with a data set. Yeah. So that's for really custom stuff, I would say.
Totally.
And then other ones we've used in the past are Whatagraph, which is another kind of integration that plugs in all the data and visualizes it for people nicely. And Clipfolio is another one as well. So there's different software platforms out there that are pretty good at reporting. Yeah. They all have the pros and cons. Absolutely. So, but everyone's probably wondering, well, not everyone, the one or two people out there are like, what should we be including in our reports? So we have like a little checklist. Yeah. And this is a really high level, but it's some critical things that you should be including in your baseline report. Yeah. And really in your ongoing reports. Absolutely. So you can compare back. Yeah. So what would those some of those things be?
Yeah, so we want to know total sessions. How many people are hitting the site? How many sessions versus users versus new users. We like to keep a pulse on that. Yeah. So website visitors is obviously a huge part to play in that report. And then we also need to know, where are they coming from? Yeah.
And separating the humans from the bots too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, I know it's a big job finding out, who was a real living, breathing human being on your website and who was just a spam bot or a Google bot or something. Yeah. And you try to separate that so you don't include that in your report. So it's not like inflated numbers. Yeah. Like we've had reports in the past where like half of the website traffic that month, and it's like thousands or even tens of thousands, is spam bots from Russia. It's like, why do we have so many Russians on our website? It's probably not people from Russia.
Yeah, no. No, exactly. Absolutely. So that's definitely, all part of it. It's, where are they coming from? What devices are they using is another huge one. Want to make sure that user experience on site is optimized as to, what our goal is. Yeah. In terms of are we trying to get a lot of mobile users? Yeah. Are they able to use the site properly? Is it loading really well? So we have different metrics we want to see there. Yep. Time on site is huge. Yep. Obviously, bot traffic is generally a bounce. Yep. They don't spend a lot of time on the site generally, so that's kind of an easy way to see whether it's a real person or not.
Interesting enough, time on site's becoming less of a deal because there's so much information on the first page.
Yeah, true.
Some of these pages are long. The people are scrolling them on their phones, and then they find what they're looking for, and they fill out the form or they hit the click to call button, and they're a legitimate user, and they turn into a lead, like convert into a lead or a sale or something. And time on site would be recorded as what? 0 seconds.
Well, because it depends.
They haven't left the homepage.
Right. But they're also engaging with the website, which that's the other thing that we like to look at too. Is like, did they take any engagements? Did they click around? Did they, did they navigate? And
but if they didn't leave the homepage and they did what they wanted to do, time on site would be recorded, I think, as 0 seconds, because they didn't leave, the first page.
I see what you're saying.
When they leave, like when they go to another page,
like
the about page or services or products, or they click on a product page if it's e-commerce or whatever, or a contact page, like any of those really, they've left now page 1 and they've gone to the second page, and now like the timer's like, oh yeah, your session started at, I don't know. It's really like a quirk of Google and analytics. Yeah. But time on site, especially with long pages and people on their phones.
True. Depends how websites are set up. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a kind of a weird one. But integrations is another thing we're going to look at. So not only what did they do on the site, but then what was feeding all the traffic in the first place. So I think I skipped one. So what they do on the site, what would be some of the most important goals, you could call it, in web language? Yeah, are they filling out a form? Are they, often we will set up contact forms or service forms, request forms, or learn more forms on the sites just to really see, it's easy for us to filter once we're able to download those forms and say, okay, this is obviously spam, because spam bots will fill out forms once in a while, depending on the site, depending on your URL. And, it's super valuable if we're able to see, okay, this is a installation company, someone's asking for new installation in the attic or whatnot, okay, that's a real lead. So that's a huge one.
Versus like, are you hiring?
Exactly.
Or it's like, a bunch of gibberish. So you want to separate that. But the goals are so important, because goals ultimately are potential customers for your business.
Absolutely.
So lead generation, there's another word for it, and conversion from visitors into inquiries. That's another word for it as well. So, but you can't get better at it. Something you're not measuring.
Right, correct.
So when we're measuring, it's like, we have 10 people phoning through or 100 people phoning through. Great. And in the future, now you've doubled that. Again, you have to be measuring it in the first place.
Exactly.
And how can you, this is a trick question. It's not even on our script, but
here we go.
How do you measure phone calls?
Yeah, it's tricky. So,
many people have no idea how this is done.
So we use CallRail. Which we basically purchase a number, which the back end of the site, in common language or easy language to understand, the site will actually pick up however that person is entering the site and swap the number to the number that was purchased. And we'll display that number. So when someone calls through and says, hey, like, I'm interested in your services, based on the number that rings through to the phone at the office or at the business, it'll actually get logged in a report, which we take at the end of the month and pop into a monthly.
Exactly. Yeah. So if someone's scrolling their phone, they're on Facebook, and they're like, oh man, I'm interested in that. Bam, they hit the ad, it goes to the site, then they hit the phone number on the top of the page, and they call. And thing is, they're calling a specific number that the social media ad told the website to swap out and display when the person hits the website. If they came from a Google ad, they would see a different number, and they click that number, and it's so all these different numbers, doesn't matter what they are, because they're just display numbers. They all forward to the business's actual landline or real phone number, their real business number. So, but it's that go-between number that is tracking all those different calls, where they came from,
and categorizing it.
And categorizing,
how many came through Google search, how many were organic,
and then you know what's working.
Exactly.
I mean, half the point of measuring stuff, again, the whole point is to get more optimized with your marketing dollars and get more bang for the buck, better results.